Hello, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of Minnesota Swimmin' Vibe, the Vibecast Saturday night edition with three people that are normally in bed by now. We have today from Minneapolis Southwest and all things Minnesota High School swimming, Chris Aarseth, and also Jeff Sanders from Minneapolis TMT, which, if I can remember right, is South, Washburn, and Roosevelt, joining us today. And we're going to talk a little bit about rivalries and go from there. So welcome, gentlemen.
Hey.
Thank you.
So first of all, we know this week, at least those who are in the know in swimming, there's the Minneapolis Southwest TMT dual meet. It's a big rival meet. It's one of my favorites, right? How long has this been a rivalry for the two schools?
Well, it's been going on for quite a while. I mean, I think, if we look back a little bit, even further back when I was in high school, and I didn't swim for either of these two teams, but even the South and Southwest rivalry was pretty huge. It's morphed into what it is now, just because things change. And I think, um, it is a big highlight for our guys, even though we really focus on the end of the season. I think, though, this is just a really good precursor, kind of that first step to the championship season for us. And for whatever reason, the powers that be tend to make it the last dual meet of the year in our conference, which is great,
Fascinating.
Yeah, and I think that our kids really they know each other pretty well, because they've either went to either middle school together, elementary school, or may swim on the same club, or have crossed paths at some point in time with each other. And so there's a lot of kind of internal pride in kind of walking with your head held a little bit higher after this meet, which really makes it great. I think, and Jeff can talk a little bit about his guys, but I know that my guys really get pumped up for this meet. And they're really, what's really surprising is that, with most rivalries, you get this chalkboard material, which is great. Don't get me wrong, because I'm all for
I like
the
a little
band.
smack talk.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for that. But our guys really have a respectfulness about it. I think that they know where to go, right to that edge to kind of push the buttons with each other, but they don't go over that line, which is great, because I do think that you do need that in athletics. You do need a little bit of banter back and forth, and as long as I like to use the term as being a respectful competitor, I think that that's fine. And I think that kind of that makes everybody click, a little bit differently, and that's good. But it was a fun meet. It was a fun week for us. Even though we were on the bad side of it, however you want to look at it, but it was a good meet. It was fun.
It's not a rivalry. I think when one team wins it all the time, right? That to me is when a rivalry no longer exists.
Yeah.
How about from your side, Jeff?
Sorry, and it's like what's so hard about it is like we have 10 seniors this year, and so we know after this year it's going back to rebuilding for us. And where the big schools, they just plug the next guy in, the next 7th, 8th grader are coming in, and we're sitting there going, okay, it's going to be another 4 or 5 years. And after so many years of coaching, you don't know how many more years you have left in you to keep it going. But Chris and my friendship is so strong, and the kids' friendship is so strong. It's like the rivalry's there, but it's not like it used to be. I've been for example, I probably shouldn't even say this, but I remember one time I had my water bottle sitting there, and all of a sudden, in the top was open, and I'm looking, and sorry, it's not boys, it was girls' season.
Wow.
I took a big sip out of it, and there was something wrong taste. They stuck jelly beans in my water bottle. This was Southwest doing that. And I go, what the heck? I go, if this would have happened, there would have been a big, oh gosh, they would have police and everything, But it was just like, it was just a joking thing that they were doing. And we laughed about it and all that stuff. But it was like, you'd walk in and sometimes you would not get booed, but you would get, just kind of hissed at a little bit, back when the rivalries were really, really strong. Now, like Chris said, they know each other now, so it's more of a friendly rivalry, but
I
Yeah.
think back to my days when it was South and Southwest, and it was almost like a little bit of a socioeconomic divide that kind of grinded that thing out. Like the South kids saw the Southwest kids as not really Minneapolis, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I can remember talking to a lot of kids back then that were on both teams, and it was a good rivalry, and they
Yeah.
went at it. I think the other thing that you guys brought up, being good friends as coaches and knowing each other, kind of keeps that boundary on it to where in the end, it's just a meet. We're gonna shake hands and we'll all be good after this. But during pool time,
for
let's go
sure,
after it. Right?
for sure.
Yeah,
You know, and
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing about Chris has a new scoreboard for Southwest. Man, he put on
Rip
a show. He put on a show for that thing. So just starting
the
out, it
hype
was like,
video alone, I was ready to go. I was looking for
oh,
my cap and
I got
goggles.
one. I got one that you didn't see, and
Yeah,
it was pretty cool. We did
it's awesome.
we added a little bit of AI to it where a wave kind of took over
Nice.
the school and all this stuff. And
I love it.
but like what Jeff said, we've been friends for a long time. Obviously, somebody that I really look up to. Jeff was coaching at Roosevelt back when I was swimming in high school.
Yep.
And I can remember those days and how as I got into coaching, how you really have people that kind of take you under your wing, and Jeff was right there from the beginning. And so just to have that competitor aspect and respect for each other. Don't get me wrong, I'm smiling maybe a
I
little
know.
bit more when I ride home after a meet that I've won, and I'm sure he's probably doing the same.
Yeah, that
But
bus ride gets a lot more comfy.
yeah, but we do have the utmost respect for each other, and we want to make
Yeah.
sure that the kids do too. Not to say, I mean, those kids, they go at it. They some of their
mhm,
best times pop off in that meet, and
Oh yeah.
like I said, it sets them up for sections, and there really is a lot of competitiveness to it, to where they take a lot of pride, and they really you know, we've had a lot of good hype men on our team, and they really put that stuff out there,
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Shout out to you, Gus, if you're listening.
Yeah, for sure, for
mhm.
sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. What other rivalries over the years are out there? I know everyone likes to talk Minnetonka Edina. I've lived that. I think it's an awesome rivalry, but that's just kind of its own thing. I think there's a lot of other rivalries that have existed over the years that maybe people aren't aware of. What are some of those that you guys remember either back from your days coaching early on or swimming?
Well, I mean, when Burnsville really had a powerhouse, I think any of those teams that back in the 90s, and they're just really superstar teams that they
Yeah.
had down there. And anytime that they went down to any of the schools down in their vicinity there, they had some really deep rivalries with the schools down there. Another one that stands out, I mean, Hutchinson, I always think of all those teams that either Rory had in the beginning of his career, and even in the later part, but Jerry Carlson, the teams that
Yeah.
he had out there, they were willing to go against anybody. They were willing to, like, you want the section meet, bring it to our pool. They were going to welcome you into their place, and they probably are going to try to beat the snot out of you, no matter
Yeah.
who you were.
Yep.
And they were in that Minnesota conference, so which was pretty tough. I mean, you had Red Wing and a lot of those other schools in there that just battled day in and day out. I mean, the Lake Conference does that as well now.
Yep.
Um, and we had a pretty, when I was in high school, we had a pretty, very, very abundant amount of teams in Minneapolis. Almost every school had their own program. And then slowly but surely, things changed,
Mhm.
economically and things like that. And we're in the position where we're at now, and now we're in the tri-metro, and we have a lot of good meets, and like I said, the powers that be kind of puts this meet with us at the end of the year, which kind of makes it a highlight of our dual meet season. But there are plenty of, I mean, I can think of Hibbing up there when they would go against Grand Rapids. I mean,
Yep.
that's a
Mhm.
big one.
Yeah.
That stands out, and a lot of people don't know. That you really look at Minnesota swimming from a historical perspective. A lot of like great swimmers came out of the Iron Range. I mean, that's where all the pools were. That's where the money was. that's where things were popping off. If you look way back in the history of Minnesota swimming, you've got these Virginia teams, these Hibbing teams, these teams that are just
Wabic.
yeah, Bawabic that
Mhm.
are coming down, and
Yeah.
and a lot, and some of them are doing it in pools that at the time were the Hibbing, just to walk through the Hibbing High School,
It's a
the
museum.
yeah, it's just
It's
amazing.
beautiful.
It's amazing. And to hear some of the stories come out of there, and you hear about people swimming in a 20-yard pool and
Yeah.
and
Still do
things
in
like
some
that.
places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And Jeff, I'm sure he can talk about when Jeff was a state champion down in Austin back in the day, and he can talk about some of the rivalries I'm sure that they had down
In the Big
there.
Nine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
There's
Nine.
plenty.
Yeah. I always remember when we were in the Big Nine, we couldn't wait to go on the away trips because we'd always stop and eat. It was like that. What is that? Steakhouse, and the coach would hand $3 to each one of us as we got off the bus, and that was our meal, and it took care of it.
That was awesome.
Yeah, but no, Albert Lee was so close to us. That was our
Yep.
biggest
That's
rivalry.
always been a good
That,
one.
it always stands out as gosh, when they won the medley relay, we won the 400 free relay at state that year, and that's when De La Salle won the whole tournament. With 4 kids, those kind of things. I do remember another big one was Neil Anderson was South against Osseo at the sections all
sure.
the time. It was always Osseo or South.
remember
out,
that one.
That was it. So those are things that stick out in my mind a lot. So, but yeah, it's been fun.
They've had a good dynamic down in Rochester over the years too.
Yep.
Mayo was so dominant in the 80s into the 90s, and then John Marshall came on a little bit. I can't remember what Century used to be called. I thought that was a different school, but
Mayo had a coach, Denny Severson. Do you ever heard that name?
I don't know. I think when I swam, Quackenbush's dad was the coach.
Yeah, yep. He was. It was before Quackenbush. Quackenbush might even been his assistant. But
Okay.
this guy, it was either Denny Severs, I think it was. He was just like, I don't know, huge muscles. He had like an afro like that big, and he was just like a god. It was just like even us, like I swam for Bud Higgins, a legend, but this guy was like, he was the new hip guy, the new guy in swimming, and everything he would say, we would just sit there in awe, and so we'd go, always talk to him. He was a great guy too, but yeah, I just remember coaches like that, made a difference in your life, So,
Absolutely. I think of Rosemont Apple Valley was hot for a while too.
For sure. Yeah.
When they were strong and before they kind of turned into Apple Valley / Eastview and Egan. And
Yep.
there was a hotbed of swimmers, and they were kind of in that Burnsville mix for sure. And like the ones up north that I look forward to the Proctor Chisholm duel every year. No
Yeah.
one
And
gets
I
it,
think
but I do.
I think a new one, that's kind of been brewing, since they opened up the school is the, Stillwater and East Ridge.
Yep.
They have some pretty good dual meets throughout the year.
And Woodbury's kind of got to be in the mix with that too, I imagine,
for sure,
right?
For sure. Yep.
That's a
Yep.
little triangle of powerhouse swimming. For your dual meet, do you guys have a trophy, a specific for the meet?
We do not. We do not.
Okay.
We recognized our seniors, so we all had cake afterwards this year.
Cake is a trophy.
yes.
So I think everybody was happy with that. No, but we do. We've had this kind of cross metropolitan contest for I don't even know how many years, the Twin City meet. So whoever wins between the two of us represents Minneapolis and goes against the champion of St. Paul.
St. Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's been going on. I mean, probably since it's been decades. I mean,
yeah, that was around when I was a kid.
Yeah. It's
St.
been
Paul
around
had
for a long
some
time.
squads back then too.
For sure.
Highland Park could throw down. Como Park had
For
kids.
sure.
Central had kids.
Yeah, and
right?
Triton was in the St. Paul Conference for a long time. They were there. And that's a really interesting meet because it's varsity only. So you really, you want to put your best lineup up there, but you got to also remember okay, well, this guy's maybe coming out of the medley. Am I going to throw him in the 200 free and things like that? So there's a lot of tricks of the trade, so to say, in that meet. But that's another fun one as well, because that's, you've already won your bragging rights for your particular city, and now it's the bragging rights for both cities. So yeah,
and that's going to be Monday night, February 9th.
All right, who
you guys going against? Is it Central?
St. Paul Central.
Yeah. All right. That'll be a good meet. We'll have
Yeah.
to make sure we do a little recap on that one and let everyone know who the champion of the city is. For
Yep.
sure. I did a trophy. We started a trophy meet with Hutchinson probably about 6 years ago. Back when I was little cockier, and Rory held on to that thing for ever since I made it. We finally got back this year, right? Because like the Paul Bunyan's act, so the team writes their name on each year.
Yep.
It just goes hutch, 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 hutch.
You know, we
Not my
did
best move.
have at one point in time, and I don't know if you remember, if Jeff remembers this or not. So we had this gator that we called a cheer gator. And this thing has like seen the test of time. I mean, its tail's like half off. It's got, so anyways, you know, our kids would have that and have it on deck and cheer and so on and so forth. So one of the kids from the South team was able to kidnap it and took it. And one of the parents, one of the parents on Jeff's team was a videographer for Channel 9 News. And so on the news one night, here was the cheer gator sitting on the desk with Passolt, and I don't remember who his counterpart was. Yeah. So that was like the talk. That was the talk of the whole entire thing.
You know, you could talk, speaking of that, you could talk about a whole thing with mascots. I mean, from when I swam, we had this mallard duck that, you know, was somebody's hunting float decoy. And that was, I don't know, then it had a sweater on it, and then it had all these different things. But the one that our boys have now is I'll never forget it. It's a teddy bear body with monkey arms, a tiger tail, and a tiger head with a Miller cap on top, you know, a baker's cap. And it's all stitched together. And then inside you open it up and it's got a bottle of water that's signed by all the kids' captains from last year. And they went down to the bottom of the pool at the deepest part and got the water out of
That's
deep
outstanding.
end, and then they bless the lanes each year. And so from the year
Oh
pre,
my God.
so you know, they keep thinking of new things, you know. So
I love it. I think that's some of the stuff that makes not only the sport so awesome, but those are the stories you remember forever. Like
for sure.
Really
we have
no one's gonna know who won this meet. Right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their tried and true, you know, rivalries and traditions. And I mean, we have another one where our captains have these little like kind of sailor caps, you know, kind of like what they had on Gilligan's Island. And the captains have signed them for years, back into the 90s. And it just so happened that one of Jeff's parents on the team, he was a captain at Southwest, and I happened to be looking through it, and I go, boy, this is Robbie's dad. This is his name is signed in here. And then I showed that to the guys, and they're like, no way. And they took pictures of it and sent it to him. And then he actually came into the pool one day, and I showed it to him, and he goes, you know what? He goes, I had a really bad day today. And he goes, by seeing this, he goes, this made my day. He goes, this is so awesome. He goes, I can't believe that you still have this, that this is still going around. And so it's just, you know, things like that. People have their, you know, their programs have their little things like that, their traditions. And I think that's, you know, like you said, I mean, we're all going to remember things like that, not necessarily the times, the wins, the losses. Those things kind of come and go. Those relationships and those moments that you have with your teammates, you know, is really what lasts forever.
Yeah, we had started a thing when I first started called the captain's log. You know, I got kind of like an old nautical notebook thing, and I told the captains, write down notes for next year's captains, what worked, what didn't. And they really kind of got into it over the years, and it's like this huge big thing now. And last year, I had never seen it. It's for them, it's not for me. But they brought it to me, and I looked through it, and I started like tearing up. I'm like, oh my God, the thought that you put into this and the things that you're sharing in here are so just perfect. And I love that stuff. So what are the year 2 programs looking forward to here the rest of the season? What do we got on the horizon? I know we're 2 weeks out from sections, week and a half.
Yeah. Well, I'm more I mean, we got, you know, obviously the Monday night Twin City meet, but then section 6AA with you know, at Edina. I'm just like kind of miffed or thrown off by now we're following all these rules, the same one as the state high school league about only can have 2 coaches on deck and no managers and no, it's like, and they said it's a new policy and we're just hearing about it now. And you know, So I guess I got to figure that one out. But
Is that for sections?
yeah,
Yeah,
Well, I ain't
each of the
going then.
sections, each of the sections, they wanted to kind of mimic the state meet policies. Now is what the
Huh.
kind of the word that came brought down.
Interesting.
it takes away a little bit of
Yeah,
that the excitement for the most of the teams that are there that may not make it past sections, which is most of the teams
Yeah,
in
I
our
might
city.
have to just
You
play
know,
dumb on that one.
yeah.
I didn't know.
yeah,
We have you
yeah. I
recording
think
on recording being told that. I wasn't listening.
I think
Wasn't me.
as
No,
far
yeah, I
as
shouldn't have said anything. It's
No, it's true. We got to talk about that stuff, right?
yeah.
I've always felt this is one of those things as a sport, as a group of coaches, we need to get better at is when we see something we don't like, getting together and putting together a single voice to be heard. Um, because I think that's important. I don't think people understand how that impacts us. Now, these
Mhm.
yeah,
decisions
I
are
think there
made.
just needs to be really a uniform voice
Yep.
that comes, and just not a lot of, because it's easy for a lot of people to speak up, and then it just becomes a lot of noise, and there's
Yep.
never really a strong focus. So I think a uniform message is the
Yeah.
best way to it, to
Well,
because
yeah.
there are some things that do take away from um that experience,
Yeah,
at the end
and
of
I
the
don't
year,
think we're
because
looking at doing it things to just buck the system and be a pain in people's butts.
No,
We want to
no,
do things that
yeah,
help the sport.
yeah,
I hate to break it to people, but we are not the most popular sport out there.
no,
Probably second,
no, no.
but not the
To
most.
diving, to
Yeah, to
diving.
diving, duh. Um, but we have to do things and think of things to keep our sport engaging.
For
And
sure.
it may not be the same things that apply to other sports. And then
For
we
sure.
just got to have that voice heard. I completely agree with that. Um, that's interesting to hear, though.
Yeah,
I know I'm excited.
as far as it goes for us, I mean, we're in a meat grinder. We were in 6 AA last year, and now we're in 2A. So,
Yeah, that's not really a. That's not
it
really a.
wasn't we went
Congratulations.
yeah, we went from hot water to boiling water,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So it's gonna be tough. Our guys are excited for the challenge. It's gonna be tough, but I think, you you control the controllables. I
yeah.
mean, those are things that we can't control. We can't
No,
control
yeah.
where we go. And we do what we do, and chart the course, and follow the path, and look at it from a standpoint of, it's not a roadblock, it's a speed bump. Let's get
yep.
over it. So
And
And
where
now that
else?
now they're
Go
out of
ahead.
section 6 AA, we have a shot for second place.
There you
true,
go.
true.
And where else, Chris? Can you say that I got 14th place and I qualified for state? Right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Oh.
we might get fifth place in that section, but we might get like fifth place at
Seventh at
state. Who
state. Yeah,
knows?
I know.
That state, who
I know.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah, we came out. I was in that section for many a year, and that's how you sharpen the axe, though, is
Yeah,
by going
for
against
sure.
those guys. You don't duck it.
Yep,
Um, right? You
Mhm.
got to swim those teams and see what they do to be so awesome, and take what you can away from them. And,
exactly,
and there's a
exactly.
lot of good coaches in
Oh yeah,
that section too,
definitely. Yeah,
right?
there's a lot of good coaches, a lot of talent, a lot of great swimmers, and it's
Yep.
gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I mean, it's always fun to kind of bump into those coaches there, and
Yeah.
kind of give them the chivvy off the shoulder a little bit, and say, hey,
Uh huh.
we're here too,
We
Um,
had a duel with Breck Blake, and I swear I probably missed half the meet because I was busy yapping with Brian.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. That's good. Um, State meet, how's it look for you guys? What are we looking to? It sounds like Chris, you're looking for a top 10. Would be a
Hoping
realistic
so.
finish.
Hoping so. I think our, it really all, when you get to that level, it's the relay game. I think, so it's gonna, those relays that we have,
Yeah.
um, and we, just like Jeff mentioned earlier, we go through a rebuilding process, every so often. We don't reload. It's not like the old Gopher hockey. They don't rebuild, they reload. We
Yep.
have to
We don't
rebuild
reload.
sometimes. Yeah,
Mhm.
we have to rebuild. So we've got some definite holes in our lineup, and we're
Yep.
going to probably, put our kids in the best spot that's possible for them to advance, but then also for us to do the best as a team. And our guys are really receptive to that. We don't have any issues with that. I think that you know I think you come out of that section no matter whether you're the first or second place, guy in your event, or you qualify by time standard. You're already battle tested. You deserve a spot at that
Yep.
state meet. You've
Mhm.
earned it. You've earned it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so we'll see how it goes. I mean, I definitely don't want to put the cart before the horse, but we've been working hard, and they're going to be ready to go. So.
Excellent. One thing I want to touch on before we wrap up, since I have a couple city school coaches, share a little bit with everyone. What are some of the challenges that are unique to coaching within basically the Minneapolis city area? I don't think a lot of people realize how much that has changed over the
Well,
years than
number
you
one,
guys would.
we've never had a pool that at the school where we can just get out of class and walk. So
Yeah.
we're always transportation is always a big one
Yep.
for us. And then now where our pool sits is been, with what's been happening in the community, we've missed some practices.
Yep.
I've had one of my coaches that, he doesn't even come to practice anymore.
Yep.
So it's those kind of things that are, like a daily thing for us. But yeah, that's just one of the things that, but it's kind of an everyday, and our kids are, I wouldn't say used to it. They're just aware of it,
Yep.
but it's the best feeling when they all get there and then they just start going back to being normal kids and they're screwing
Yeah.
around and having a great time. And so
When you can
that,
leave all that stuff in the locker room and just go be
Yeah.
boys.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
And then,
think.
just always practicing where there's people in the locker room with you. So you always having a coach, like what you
Yep.
say and can't do. And, and so we're always kind of aware of things, our surroundings. We're always aware that we're being looked at, monitored constantly
Yeah.
about our behavior. And if something goes wrong, it's just, they can just point and say the boys did it or the girls did it instead of, but, so those are like little things that I'm kind of,
Yep.
that we deal with every day.
Yeah. How about for you,
Yeah, I
Chris?
think I think too. Our kids are really resilient. They like there's multiple things that are going on in the community that they see, whether it's affected them directly. Like
Yeah.
it's probably affected somebody that they know pretty intimately. And I think that just dealing with some of that stuff right now, but then, a lot of schools or a lot of programs just have access to their pool, even though the pool is in our school proper.
Mhm.
We don't have access to it all the time. So, for
Right.
example, if it's a Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, I'm trying to think of some of the national holidays where our engineers don't work. It isn't
Yep.
always a guarantee that we're going to get into the water. So,
Yeah.
finding a place to practice, chatting with Jeff and trying to coordinate things. Um, those are things that probably not a lot of other coaches have to deal with. The winter break, that's always a challenge because the engineers get their contractual days
Yep.
off and things like that. So, making sure, and as we both do have some kids that do continue to swim club. I think that those numbers are dwindling just because we don't
Yeah.
have a club that's located proper in Minneapolis. We have one that's
Yeah.
kind of in its infancy that's growing a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's not like, back in the day when we had Twin City Swim Club and we had all these
Yeah.
places that, you know, um, the Otters did a great job for
Yep.
for kids. We just don't have those anymore. So really, getting the kids to be competitive and to be ready right off the bat is sometimes a challenge because they're
Yeah.
they're brand new to swimming. They have no idea. Like they
Right.
they came out for swimming because their friend talked them into it, or they've come out and I know that all programs have kids like that, but I think that our numbers are a lot more than
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
places.
I,
Where
I think a lot more schools are shifting that direction to where, like, I think of my boys. I mean, I used to have probably 60, 70% club swimmers. Now I have like maybe two, right?
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
It's hard because I mean, it's unsurmountable, but you do a lot more teaching
for
than you do
sure,
coaching for the
Mhm.
first
for
half
sure.
of the season.
For sure. I mean, to see the improvement, obviously, is a lot of times spectacular. Like we had a JV meet today, and I looked at some of the times that
Yeah.
the guys did, and I was like, "Wow, this is great." They ended on a good note, and that's really what we want. We want them to come in, to work hard, and to end on a good note, to motivate them for the next year, and then maybe they will join a club. Maybe they will do something even in the fall,
Yep.
before the high school season. So I think that sometimes is a big challenge for us. Um, and then, it's not we're not in one of those places that just have this, I guess, constant. I wouldn't even say constant, but even a very distinct budget or anything like that for
Right.
athletics. Like, so,
Yeah.
any type of things that we need for our program, we just have to rely on our parents and then our fundraising
Yep.
constantly. I mean, there's just, you want to provide the best service for the kids so that they have an enjoyable experience, and then to realize that these are going to be not only our ambassadors for our program, but then the ambassadors for our district once they
Yep.
once they depart, and we want them to say, hey, the Minneapolis Public Schools, I had a great education. I was in a global environment where there are kids of all kinds of different races, creeds, religions, and I kind of had a real world experience. And then on top of
Yeah.
that, I had a great experience on my athletic team, swimming or whatever it was.
Yeah, well,
And I'm going to
I was
stay
going
with
to say
that. You know,
one thing they like I saw today with we had at our junior varsity championship, we had 3 seniors that are junior varsity swimmers, and this was their last
Yep.
meet, and they stood up there and they gave the speech to the kids, and they talked about what it's meant to them, and and it's just like our team, and I know Chris is the same way. The one thing about swimming as a sport versus other sports is top down, 7th through 12th grade, they're doing stuff together all the time.
Yeah.
Pasta
yeah,
parties, whatever, they're hanging out. They're,
Yep.
and it's just such a great to see that happen, versus, like you guys are younger, stay away from us. But swimming brings everybody together, and that helps build a better program too.
And I think you can
For
really
sure.
be a leader regardless of talent level in swimming too, which
Oh,
a lot of other
absolutely.
sports, I think that's a little more challenging, right?
for sure.
Like I think
For
some of
sure.
my most impactful athletes I ever had weren't varsity swimmers at all, right?
hmm Yep.
But
Yeah.
man, they could lead and influence and support and bring kids together. And those are the kids that ended up turning out pretty darn good in life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the
Absolutely.
best part of it.
Yeah. For
Very
sure.
cool. Well, I wish you gentlemen the best of luck at sections. I'll be following as always.
You too. You too.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little sad. It's going to be Carl Schultz's last meet up there
Yeah.
in Wilmer.
Yep.
He's speaking of people that are good mentors. I've picked Carl's brain on many of things over the years, and he's always been willing to take the time to
And
help a
he's
poor
he
guy
is
out.
he's there's been a lot of really good people up in that section or that area that
Yeah,
just, are good mentors, and I think that's something we all should inspire to be, and the wins and losses, like I said before, you forget about those. Don't get me wrong, I'm competitive as
yep,
all
me
get up.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Um
I don't know what my dual
yeah,
meet
but
record
I,
is this
I
year.
don't either. I
I
have no
don't
idea
have a
either.
clue. I can list the
But
order of the fun I had, but I can't tell you the scores.
yeah, yep.
I could tell you what I can't find it. I'm looking. I probably on one of those floppy disks on one of my old computers. But I was with. I had a picture with me in the middle with Elmer Luke and Art Downey on the other side of me. And Elmer Luke was kind of one of my mentors when we started.
Yeah,
He
I mean
took me under.
that's my high school right there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
And he took me under his wing, one meet, and we do it every year at we'd go to Eau Claire relays, and we just hit it off, and I was young, he was older,
yeah.
and it just hit, and I didn't even know who he was, I did, these
We used
legends.
to when we'd swim Hopkins, we would go as soon as we get there, we'd go try to get Elmer to start telling us stories so we wouldn't have to warm up. And we could get him going for a full hour, easy. But they were
Yeah.
some of the best stories. And then Mr. Downey will always be Mr. Downey to me, no
Yeah,
matter
for
how old
sure,
I
for
am.
sure.
I had probably one of the loudest, most outgoing coaches out there. But when he got on deck with Mr. Downey, he minded his manners like you wouldn't believe. And we all did. And that
Yep.
made that kind of Minnetonka Diner rivalry back then kind of special because you're like, God, this guy is so amazing. So soft
For
spoken, but
for a
God,
short
did he
period of
command it.
time, I had Roosevelt with me, and we had a young man that had qualified for the state meet, and so I get this Roosevelt polo, and I show up to the state meet, and I'm kind of walking around, and and inside I thought I was pretty tough. Yeah, look, and I'm somebody, and I get down there, and you're like, oh man, I'm on deck with all these people. I have,
Yeah.
like looking around, and Tim Johnson comes up to me, and I had heard about him, but I didn't know who he was. And he
Yeah.
comes up and he puts his arm around me. He goes, "You coaching at Roosevelt?" And I said, "Yep." And he goes, "I went to Roosevelt, class of 19, like 60 something
Yeah,
or another,
exactly.
69 or something like
Yep.
that." And he goes, "Come on over here. You're with me." And he pulls me right up to the ropes. And I
Oh,
was
that's
like,
so
"Oh, this is
cool.
great," And then he started telling me a story about how he swam with Jesse the Body Ventura and this and that. And yeah, so,
Jim
I mean,
Janos.
yeah, Jim Janos. Jim Janos. Yeah.
Jim Janos. Yeah.
Can I just real quick about a Roosevelt story? Because when
You
I
get all the
coached
time you
Roosevelt
want.
too, we had a boy named Kumar Tusi. He
Yep.
was from Iran and couldn't see. I mean, he was blind without his glasses, and his dad
Yep.
was a doctor, but living in America doing something else. And he cut out his lens of his glasses and put him in his goggles. And I just had Kumar. So we were going to that state meet, and
Yeah.
he was in the 500, and he's panicking. I go, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" He goes, "Somebody broke into my locker and stole my bag." And I go, "Well, we got to go to practice." He goes, "No, my goggles were in my bag, or to the meet. My
Yeah.
goggles were in the bag." And I said, "Oh my God," So we went through every garbage can of Roosevelt, those big,
Yeah.
and we dumped him out. We went through him. We found his bag. We found his goggles. Oh my God! But
With the lenses in it.
some of the things that just
The first prototype of prescription goggles.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, some of the things these guys
Kumar.
come up with.
That's awesome. We all have a kid on our team that has that, right?
For
The
sure.
one that can't
For
read
sure.
from 2 inches away.
Yep.
Melissa Scholt back in the day, and then she went on to, started a program, not even any club or anything, just a regular swimmer with us as a junior high. She goes on to be one of the better breaststrokers of the Gophers and
That's
captain of the
crazy.
Gophers back, Yeah, it's crazy.
And blind
she
as a
couldn't
bat.
see either. Yeah, blind as a bat.
It's not a bad thing. I tell the boys I wish I was deaf now. I wouldn't have to listen to their crap. All right, gentlemen. Thanks for hanging out on a Saturday night. Great conversation as always. And
Thank you.
good luck and take care.
Yep, you too.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.